So I went. I know all these boys worked in Queensland together at some point in time, and I know that Forex tastes like shit.
Hey.
And I couldn't find anything else that tastes like shit until I found Foster's in the supermarket this afternoon.
And it does sound like shit.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, in case you don't know them, Geoff McDowell, Nick Papal, and Mick Caban are joining me on stage right now. I mean, that video must bring back a bit of memories of back in the day in West Point. Did you know any of those old biddies in the video?
Yes, yeah, they were lovely at the time. That video there, both Nick and I were started at West Point 44 years ago in 1974. Shit. And that's Geoff McDowell there from Townsville, but Geoff's unfortunate enough to be up on the stage with a couple of old bastards. Geoff actually started as an 18-year-old in Townsville in 1986, I believe, on the count team. We started at West Point now. That's 44 years ago, and there are a couple of people in this room that started about the same time. Mike Hackman's over there, Paul Arbuckle, Enrico Dovadola.
I think Fiona Dennehy was also there.
Fiona started just after that. I used to take her to work in my car when she first started. So it's a small world, the gaming industry, and I was just saying something earlier on about Bernie Mulhern. Now, Bernie Mulhern, I worked at the Playboy Club in London in 1976, and he was the casino manager there. And then when we started in Townsville, he was actually the COO in Townsville when we first started.
So, Geoff, look, I mean, you've been in the business for a while, obviously. Feel free to pick up a microphone. I've got a bit of a question. Apparently, you know Lloyd Williams very well.
Well, let's say I worked for Crown, and I was in the unfortunate position of being in Lloyd's way, or being the guy he sort of tapped on the shoulder now and then and said, what are we doing here? Or I think we should change this or change that.
So you're basically Lloyd's bitch?
Well, I was a bitch. Yeah, I was a total bitch. What do you do with a guy like Lloyd Williams? I mean, you just have to be a bitch.
You be his bitch.
Yeah, you're his bitch, right? So he pays you the money and you be his bitch. So I was his bitch.
Hey, can I ask a question? At some point in time, you had a bit of an issue with a Keno ball machine, I believed.
Yes. So I was a young lad, and I had a couple of fearless bosses. Nicky was the GM of Townsville Casino, and I think Mick was the assistant manager or assistant GM. I forget what he was then. He was very important, and I was just a little pleb. And we had one night I used to run the shift on Keno and slots, and this guy was playing like a 9-spot jackpot, and the whole top row on the Keno thing came up, and the last ball came out, and the ball got crushed by the machine. So I was like, fucking hell, what do I do here? This is disaster. The guy's looking at the ball, he's thinking I've won the jackpot. So I run over to the manager on duty, which is Mick. I said, Mick, I got a real problem over here. And Mickey goes, explain to me, Geoff, what's going on? I said, like, the ball's got crushed and the guy's won $250K. And Mick just said to me, Geoff, he goes, I trust you to make the right decision, because it'll be your balls hanging over the door when Nicky Papal walks in on Monday morning, and he punches him like a fucking punching bag. So I said, Mickey, thanks for your help. I trust I'll make the right decision then.
I did have a way with words.
He told me to stand on my own 2 feet, so it was good. Thanks, Mick.
So Nick, was Geoff's balls solid or floppy to punch?
Let me tell you.
He made the right decision. His balls weren't hung over the door. He lived to survive and have children thereafter.
Yes, thank you, Mick. Nicky did punch him a few times for other things, though, let me tell you.
So anyway, Nick, to you, mate. I mean, you obviously met Mick back in the day at West Point and had a very extensive career in the casino industry. Then you decided for some reason to go and purchase a post office in Queensland.
That wasn't a initial decision. It was funny that
But
when I was wo-
Queensland, I mean, they don't even know how to send letters, let alone...
But when I was running Star, unfortunately, a guy with the initials of DB, I won't say anymore, some people would know, he finished my career there, so I had to do something else. I always wanted to retire on the Gold Coast, so I thought the post office was a great option.
And you obviously thought, you know, with Amazon coming online very shortly, that this is going to be the future. Hence why you sold out and moved to Macau in 2006.
Okay, that's an interesting story. That the guy here, Mick, recreated my career, and I thank him dearly and dearly and dearly so much that he got me back in the game industry, which I loved. I never wanted to get out of it, but he got me back in, and here I am.
The follow on from that, Nicky came up here and we had a lot of white folks up here. And Nicky took it upon himself to take all of the local young blokes, all the Chinese under his wing, and even the young blokes that came up from Australia, all the new pit bosses and shift managers. And to this day, they still contact him. Jerry So had dinner with him, met up with him, Liada. So a lot of people. And then Nicky did such a fantastic job there with everyone, and then he moved on to Genting, and now he runs the biggest casino in the world. So he's done well.
But
Now, Geoff, just so...
I just want to touch on what Mick about Bernie Mulhern. Bernie Mulhern was the greatest change in my life. When I was given the opportunity to run my first casino, which was Sheraton Townsville. Now, Sheraton weren't a gaming company, but Sheraton Townsville was the first casino they actually invested money in. So they employed Bernie. Now, Bernie's background, yes, he ran the Playboy in London. Bernie was moved to open the Playboy Bahamas. Then Bernie was moved to open Playboy Atlantic City.
Anyway, look, just one last thing. Geoff, I understand that your first point of call was actually an account team, but for some reason you decided to leave that because you didn't like the uniforms? You had to wear a jumpsuit, or the first onesie, or?
It was a onesie. So when I was a young bloke, I wanted to join the casino. I was 18, and I was like, casino, I've made it, you know. It's like, there's going to be loads of chicks there and everything else. And then I get my job in the count team, and they give me it's like a prison uniform. It's basically a onesie with no pockets in it. I'm like, fuck me, how am I ever going to get a route with this uniform?
It wasn't trustworthy.
No, seriously, it was terrible. So,
Can I stop you? Did you get one, or?
I actually ended up getting one, but... No, I got to thank Nicky and Mick for believing in me enough to get me out on the floor where I could actually do some real damage. And So thank you guys. Appreciate that.
Geoff alluded to earlier on to working for Lloyd Williams, and there are a couple of stories in Crown when we first opened. And if you have a look in this room here, and the people to stand up or put their hands up that came out of Crown, you'll find that half of the people here in Macau in the gaming industry originated out of there as well. But one day, Lloyd Williams, who actually made money because his personal company did all the work for variation to contracts, so he changed shit all the time. And one day he's come down and he said to Jeffrey, those machines just don't look straight enough. I think you should straighten them up. Can you move them around a little bit to the side? Yeah. Jeffrey, carry on.
Well, Lloyd, so all the machines, there was like 350 machines and jackpot signage, it was all finished, and we're very proud of the area, and we're about to open like 4 weeks later or something. And Lloyd said, he grabbed me, he said, Geoff, he goes, I think they look better if we line them up this way. And they were all lined up this way. So I said, of course I said, I think you're right. I think it sucks the way it is. We should definitely line them up the other way. So, and he said, so get on it, get it done. I said, no problems. And that's when I called Mr. Spencer here, my fearless leader, and Rowan Craigie, from my boss from Crown, and I said, we got a problem, Lloyd wants things changed. They said, don't worry about it. So Lloyd came back at 12, grabbed me, he said, did I ask you to do something? I said, yep. He said, well, you haven't done it. I said, I've talked to Neil, I've talked to Rowan. He said, Neil, Spencer, and Rowan Craigie work for me. And I told you to do something. When you do it, I expect you to do it. I said, done. So I started ripping out 350 slot machines. Long story short, I caused a union dispute, and I think we were out for a few days. I think I got tossed out the door by the union thugs out onto the street the next day. But anyway, that was the story.
Some of the legends of the industries, ladies and gentlemen. I'd just like to say a big thanks. Nick Papal. Yeah, sorry, one more thing.
So there was a couple of people up here earlier on from the Aristocrat days. Kurt Gazane, Ken Jolly and Warren Jowett. I come from Cessnock like Warren Jowett. Warren Jowett used to play rugby league with my brother-in-law. Paul Arbuckle comes from Cessnock. Kurt Gazane used to play with my nephew in the front row for Hunter Valley Rugby League teams. Ken Jolly, I started in the business in 1974 and I worked in Africa.
Ken Jolly didn't play rugby.
No, he didn't.
No.
But what Ken Jolly did do was when I came back from Africa, I got a job with a company called Neil Clark Sales and Service in Newcastle, pulling machines to pieces and putting them back together. When I left, my replacement was Mr. Ken Jolly. He came there. So that's the small industry we live in. And then I was General Manager Gaming in Auckland. Ken was General Manager Aristocrat in New Zealand. So it's a small world all round.
Well, that's exactly the sort of things we're here for tonight, is to celebrate the people in the industry. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to just thank these three gentlemen up here. They've had amazing careers, and please, while you're still here,
Thank you.
cheers. No, where's your Foster's, by the way? Did you finish it?
Yeah, I'll finish it, yeah. I'll drink anything.
Mate, I'm struggling through mine. Yeah. But what we're going to do is we're going to shot of tequila shortly. Hang on. But before you go, because I know you guys don't know what a selfie is. So I've got the world's biggest selfie stick here. I want you to come to the middle of the stage. Don't worry about my Fosters I just knocked over. Come on this side. Righto. We're going to put it out in the middle. Everyone else who wants to come out to the front, you're more than welcome. I mean, anything but these ugly mugs. 1, 2, 3. Cheers. Beautiful. Thank you very much.